All right, well, welcome everyone. It's great to have you here for the facilitator Zoom call for this week. We're actually up to number 10 since we started last year, so into double digits, which is quite impressive. Great to have you on board. I'm just going to share with you what we're going to cover today. So we have basically, we're going to check on any Zoom basics and questions. We're going to do some introductions in breakout rooms. We're going to hear from 4 facilitators. So thank you, Leslie, Briar, Megan, and Gary, who have kindly agreed to share their experiences with running action group activities and farmer activities online. And so they're going to tell us what they did and tell us what a couple of things they thought worked really well, and one thing that they think probably needs to be worked on. So that'll be really cool. We're going to do some brainstorming around engaging farmers outside online meetings, or for those farmers and groups who really just don't want to engage online. So how can we do get some engagement with farmers in that case? And then I've got a few notices to finish. So that's what we're going to cover today. I just wanted to go back over the basics of Zoom. So if you're on the computer, you'll have your mute and unmute and your video, stop and start video on the bottom left. You've got your chat box in the middle. You can see this is a snapshot of mine. I've got a breakout rooms function here, which is what you get if you've got a paid Zoom subscription and you've enabled breakout rooms, which allows you to do breakout rooms. You can change your view up in the top right, and the chat box always comes out on the right hand side. So it looks a little bit different depending if you're on a tablet or a phone, but that's the basic layout. And I'm going to share this with you if that's handy for you to use with any of your online meetings or anything like that for farmers or others that you're working with, so that they get a bit of an idea of where things are. So if that's helpful at all. So I'm going to stop sharing that, get you to click into the chat box if you have any questions about Zoom at this point, or anything that's been puzzling you, or that you just want to check in on. So yeah, just if there is anything, type it into the chat box and we'll come back to it. Doesn't look like people are leaping into the chat box, so what I'm going to do is give you a chance to keep thinking about that and send you into some breakout rooms so that you can say hi to each other. And cool, so I'm going to send you into some rooms. I want you to just introduce yourselves to each other, and any ups and downs of this isolation lockdown thing with your groups. You've got the chance to kind of share some thoughts or ideas that you've got. So let's do that. So I'm going to create the rooms and open all the rooms. So go for it. You doing okay, Megan? Or yep, cool. Hi, Rachel.
Oh, hello. Sorry, got busy.
No, that's all good. Great to have you aboard. How's it going?
Not bad, not bad.
Nice. And hi, Tony. How are you? Oh, you there? No? Hi, Tony.
Hi, how you doing?
Oh, excellent. Cool. Everyone's just in breakout rooms, introducing each other, introducing themselves. So we're going to do 2 rounds. So you'll get the chance to do that shortly.
Yeah, perfect.
But Tony, have you met Rachel?
No, hi, Tony.
Hi, how you doing?
Rachel, meet Tony.
Good, thanks. Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Clyde.
Oh, you're in Clyde. Oh, nice.
Where are you, Rachel?
I'm in Paiatua, which is...
Yep, good old Paiatua over the track. Yep.
That's the one. Yep.
I was a Massey boy, so we used to frequent Paiatua on the odd occasion.
Oh, yes, as you would. Probably came over to the brewery a lot. We did when we were students. It's changed a lot now, but it used to be a student dive.
Yeah, only the diploma students drank tui. The rest of us didn't quite get the flavour, but I picked up on it later on.
I grew up in Invercargill, so we used to go through Clyde in the holidays.
Yep.
We have we have a place in Arrowtown, so it's a nice little spot.
Right, yeah, no, I lived in Invercargill most of my life. I've only shifted up here about 4 years ago. 5 years ago.
There you go. My family's still farming in Invercargill, so we get out there.
Whereabouts?
A little place called Rackahook.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, my maiden name was Hargest.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, Jim. Yep.
Yeah. You knew my dad.
Righty. Yeah. I used to pedal the old footpaths and bike roads on a push bike with Jim.
Oh, right. Yeah. Last month, or must have been February, him and Mum did that ride of New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
Ride,
yep.
Which was pretty cool to see them.
Yeah, too right. So how old's your dad?
How old's my dad? He'll be 70 at Christmas time, I think. No, 69 at Christmas time.
Right. Gee. That's pretty good effort for him.
It is.
All right.
Welcome back, everyone. I love New Zealand. There's less than 1 degree of separation, and Rachel and Tony have just illustrated this, which is awesome. Cool. Welcome to a few more people. Hi, Charles, and Rachel and Tony have also joined us, so great to have you online. Now, if there at any point you do have any questions about Zoom, please remember, open that chat box and type them in, because I will come back to them and we will go through them. So if you've got any questions that come up, please just put them in the chat box, not in the breakout room chat, because I can't see those. Only the people in the breakout room can see the breakout room chat. So wait until we're in the big setting. Now we're going to do one more round of introductions. I'm going to recreate the rooms so that you get to talk to a couple of other people, and so we're going to running polls. Cool. We will come back to that. Let's go into breakout rooms again and introduce yourselves, and any thoughts you've got around running action groups in this lockdown period, share them, and then we're going to come back. We're going to deal with the any Zoom questions, and we're going to hear from Briar and Leslie and Megan and Gary. So let's do that. Thanks, people. Excellent. Welcome back, everyone. Cool. I think we've lost Donna. She needed to go. She was only able to join us for the first little bit, but great to have you all back. Now, if you do think of any questions about Zoom or anything, please put them in the chat box. Simon, you've put in running polls, any experiences and how to. So, hey, give me a wave if you have used polls on Zoom. Woohoo, Dean. Cool. Do you want to tell us about it, Dean? Any thoughts or tips?
Yeah, I'll stay away from the setup because it takes a wee bit of mucking around to set up. But I've been sort of looking after or having farm discussion group Zooms once a week, and I poll my groups on how much feed they have and whether they're comfortable or whether they're short and need some tweaks and things like that. And also poll them on, you know, how they're dealing with the isolation. Are they comfortable? Are they getting a bit stir crazy? I polled one group and said, I'm ready. One of the options was I'm ready to smash someone in the face, and heaps of people ticked that box. So that wasn't a good box to create, but no, an excellent tool to, I think, almost test whether what you're getting told is actually what the truth is. And yeah, I've used it a lot, especially around the feed side of things at the moment. It's really useful.
Cool. Gary, yes.
Dean, I assume they're anonymous, like, you know, so people don't know who said I want to smash someone in the face, so that way they might be a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you can tick a little anonymous box when you set it up. It does pay to sort of set it up in advance, but you can actually set them up on the fly, but it's a wee bit hard when you're sort of facilitating a meeting to sort of set it up on the fly. So you can set the polls up in advance, and that's what I've been doing.
Yep,
yes, anonymous.
Yeah, which is quite handy. So when you set up your meeting in Zoom, it just gives you the option of adding a poll, and that's when you do it. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions or thoughts around polls and using polls? Give me a wave. Otherwise, Simon does. Oh, sorry. Go.
Just one thing. I've found the poll on Zoom to be quite basic. All you can do is question and answer things. But you know, I've used a bit of poll everywhere in presentations, and you can use that with Zoom, but it's a bit complicated, and you have to send people the link to come back. So I wouldn't suggest that you start trying it anytime soon. But it is something that's got more options as far as the kind of questions and kind of responses that you can get from people. But you do have chat anyway, so I don't know, but just put it in there. The other one is that if you click on your participants, you get the drop-down list of your participants. You can enable the non-verbal feedback bar that will appear down the bottom, and people, you can just say, you know, does everyone agree we should have a break for a cup of coffee? And they just push the tick. And if you get the majority of ticks, then you know, we're going to break for 10 minutes for coffee or whatever it is. But so you can use that for quick responses rather than just setting up a whole poll. So if anyone's interested, I can send you a screenshot of that. So I just thought I'd add that in.
No, that'd be great, Lab. If you can send that to me, I'll email it around for people, because that's a really cool little tip. That's a really quick way, especially if you haven't tried a poll before, but you wanted to get a quick response. So cool. Anyone else use that?
Just Nicola. A question for Lab. Does everyone get to see that list of people and how they respond if you use the thing under participants?
No, they don't. It's just only you see that as the host. Okay. So and they just, well, actually, I suppose they do, but they don't know who's ticking what. So they will see the list of people, but they won't know who's ticked what. But they have to click on it themselves, I think. I need to do a bit more research now. You've put me on the spot.
It's good, John. Yes.
I haven't actually used it. I've just practiced it at home.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So I used it the other day with a group, and everybody ticks it, and the ticks just come up on the right-hand side against your names. And yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody can see them because they all laughed when they all come up with if they had the same answer. So Yeah, it works pretty well.
Awesome. Cool. Simon, is that helping, giving you a few ideas?
Yeah, no, it's just I need to get on with it. I just haven't run one of the polls, so I was just thinking how people are using it, and I had the same kind of the questions of my farmers. I thought that Dean's questions were exactly what I would ask my guys too, and really keen to hear more from people that are using those and getting group engagement. I've had a couple of calls. I've made them pretty low-key calls, I guess, with farmer groups, and have about half the farmers attending. Dean, what's your experience on, and maybe John, on getting full participation, or you're getting most of them turning up to your meetings, and sort of length of meetings that you're running compared to what you might have normally done?
Similar participation levels to what you'd normally get. Yeah, the same reasons that stop them coming along to farm discussion groups, stop them coming to a Zoom meeting as well. Yeah, people on tractors or meeting trucks or whatever. I've tended to be having quite a few evening farm discussion groups to try and work with that. I do find that a few farmers see less value in a Zoom meeting than a face-to-face farm discussion group, and so you do lose a couple, but relatively similar attendance. I've had to handhold a few people to get them running it, and that's been a wee bit of a barrier, but once I'm sort of over that barrier of getting people actually on it, yeah, it seems to go fine.
Cool. John, what would you add?
Yeah, so yeah, about 80% participation, again, just because people can't get there for some reason, whatever time you choose. The first two groups that I've had, by the end of it, both said we want to meet again in a fortnight, so I took that as a positive. Only letting the meeting go for about between an hour and a half, and breaking the meetings into quite specific chunks. So one of them, so I've convinced the guys, or they're happy with this, that 3 Zoom meetings is equivalent to a 1-day on-farm meeting. And the first one part is just a normal catch-up for the last couple of months. One is we're going to discuss a farm in particular, and I haven't done that yet, so I'm interested to see how that goes, but that's a challenge I'm setting myself. And another one could be something technical, or a speaker or something like that. So yeah,
Nice.
That's what I'm looking to do to keep the job going.
I like that breakdown. That's cool. This is cool. So on that note, we're going to move into hearing from a few other people as well. So I'm going to be calling on Leslie, then Briar, Megan, and then Gary to share their experiences too with running meetings online. So Leslie, I'm going to hand over to you to start us off. Are you all good?
How's it going, everyone? Yeah, so Denise has asked me to talk just in relation to how I've kept the momentum going with my group, which really flows on from what we were just speaking about a moment ago. So our group started August or September last year, so we haven't been going that long. And we've got a really good level of connection and cohesion within the group, and a good level of trust. And I think that that's been really the key to the group really wanting to keep going through the lockdown. So when we first started getting together, I set up a Facebook page, and we've done some really quite regular posts just to keep that engagement up even between meetings. So, you know, like view of the day, or, you know, how's everyone coping, how's it dry, you know, those kinds of things. I've done quite a few phone calls, just one-on-one with each of the participants, just checking in, and especially we've had a really shitty drought here, and just been quite mindful of their state of mind, I guess you'd say, and how everyone's coping. So I've just been quite proactive in checking in, and I think that again has been good in building that level of trust and I guess connection between the group. So yeah, so when the lockdown started, it happened that it was about the same time that Denise did a training call about Zoom and everything like that, and I was like, oh, right, okay. Get onto this. So I rung around everybody proactively and said, hey, you know, we had a bit of an update about what was happening with RMPP, you know, the funding had been extended and all that kind of thing. And so I rang every one of them and had a good chat. There was a lot going on because of the drought and then isolation. And so I think like every one of those calls would have between probably half an hour to an hour each, and just really overcoming any concerns, because none of them had done any online meetings, or, you know, they might have done a bit of Messenger or FaceTime between family or something. So yeah, so that was really good. And so we were supposed to have met on last Monday, the 6th, or Monday before, whenever that was. So I rang everyone that weekend before and then arranged to get together just for casual drinks on the Tuesday night, so everyone could have a feel in a very non-threatening environment for what it would be like. And it was awesome. I got 6 out of 9 of them along. Someone was eating their pudding, I had my wine, everyone else had a beer, you know, sort of thing. It was cool. And I'd only booked it for an hour, thinking that you know, it might be a bit stilted or awkward or something, but yeah, after an hour I had to tell everyone to actually go to bed because we'd run out of time. So it was good, and the momentum kept going. I didn't have to draw the conversation out or anything like that. There was one chick who had technology problems, just couldn't work out how to get the sound to work, so I rang her the next day and we worked through that together. So out of that came on Tuesday, I'd arranged for our economist internally just to have a bit of a lunchtime meeting. Yeah, just keep it short, keep it sweet. It's quite a young group as well. Everyone's got young children. So that short and sweet lunchtime was okay, but going forward we'll definitely be doing evening meetings where possible. But yeah, no, it's been good. What worked well was probably having that initial level of trust and cohesion within the group. They wanted to keep going, and just, yeah, I've kept the agenda loose and built redundancy into it, I guess you'd say, is like having just time for chatting. And I think that's been really good for that connection. Oh, and the individual calls addressing any concerns was something else that I think probably worked well. What I need to work more on is the ORID. Yeah, that's something that I definitely need to work on, and I think just that breaking down and that, yeah, I need more training and more practice on that. But yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Any questions for Leslie? Give us a wave or just unmute and ask away. Otherwise, please feel free to write into the chat box as well. Not at the moment. Cool. Thanks, Leslie. It's great to hear, and some different times as well, having that social interaction, and then follow up with a speaker, just like you were talking about, John, kind of chunking it into different types of meetings. So yeah.
I think the other real key thing too is that it's a really engaged group where both parts of the farming business are involved. So usually it's the chicks that are on there, you know, doing the Facebook pages, and I think that they've probably dragged the guys along as well. Because I'd see within our discussion group, my husband anyway, you know, he's like, oh yeah. Whereas it's me going, yeah, we'll do this. And I think that that's been quite key, is having the engagement from both partners, I guess.
Yeah. Certainly can help get people over that initial hump of their technology and different bits and pieces. So yeah. Cool.
I just got one question, Leslie. Are you getting partners together on it? You getting two people for the meetings?
Yeah, and that's just something that's really, really important to me, especially in a group with young children, is I don't want that you have young children to be a barrier to you learning and joining in. So that's why we've definitely proactively, you know, saying evenings are best. And I've got Richmond Beaton coming in next week, and that'll be an evening meeting. You know, the professionals or SMEs that we've been dealing with have all been, you know, open to doing that. Chances are they've got young kids at home as well, and it works for them. Yeah,
that's cool. Awesome. Thanks, Leslie. Great. Thank you. Really appreciate you sharing, and yeah, what's been working and what to work on. ORIDs are, you always have to prepare those, whether it's face-to-face or online. It's just a little more tricky sometimes. Hey, Briar, we're going to switch over to you. So take it away, please.
Well, thanks, Denise. So first of all, I just want to credit that everything I've learned for how to do this has been from observing Denise on these Zoom calls, or watching those Enablers of Change videos. They're really good if you don't get those, which is Denise and colleague of hers, and also everybody else involved in RMPP, the other facilitators that have had input into these calls. So thank you all for that. So the platform I'm using for these calls is Microsoft's Teams, and that's purely because that's what Beef and Lamb, the organisation that I work for, is currently using, and we don't yet have a subscription to anything else. And the event isn't an RMPP group, it's a drought drop-in call for the North Island, so it's targeted at the entire North Island, but with the aim of keeping it under 25 participants at a time. And then each week we have a different speaker. So it's not very structured, but I'll get onto that shortly. So the first thing that some people on the extension team and I did was actually test a whole heap of platforms to work out what was actually the easiest to get on as a farmer. And for Microsoft Teams, you don't have to download an app or create anything. And for a GoToMeeting, you don't have to either. You pretty much just click and join, which we thought was important. So some people are using GoToMeeting. The next thing I did was think about the purpose of what the call was. And so what I wanted to achieve was interaction of those farmers, even though it's a different group of farmers each week because you don't know who's going to join in. And then I wanted the farmers to get info that is specific to their business. So they actually take something away from that call that they can apply. The other thing I wanted to achieve was kind of education around using platforms like this and to be comfortable using them. So I'm an obsessive pre-planner. I like to have spreadsheets and agendas and things. So I have a Word document that I pre-plan all these calls in, and that has the agenda, which is in 2 sections. So there's, or 3 sections, kind of the introduction, how to use everything, and then we spend half an hour where the speaker and I kind of have like a verbal interview. I'll explain that shortly. That's got the chat function built into it, and then 20 minutes of people speaking. So each attendee gets a chance to use the unmute option. So the questions that I use for the speaker are a combination of pre-submitted questions, which I haven't had a lot of luck with. That's trying to get farmers to send a question in before they join the call. Interested to know how we can get people to do pre-work a bit better in that space when they're not used to it. I pre-prepare questions, and this is probably the best piece of advice I have had. It was from Aaron Meikle, who does the Beef and Lamb podcasts, and he said that the more prepared you are with questions, the more natural they'll seem. So, you know, I spend a good couple of hours at getting the questions right. And those questions are aimed to try and start conversation. So the whole time we do the pre-prepared questions in the first section, I'm kind of encouraging those attendees to use the chat function, and then we ask the questions out of the chat function. And then in the second half, the questions are from the attendees, but I ask them individually. So that was something I picked up off Denise, is to stop people being shy and enable them to talk, you need to ask them by name individually so they don't talk over each other and everybody gets a chance and then they all feel included. So I thought that is really important and it works quite well. Also, those that aren't comfortable using the chat function can still ask what they need to ask. I jump on 10 minutes early and I have that advertised in all our material to say that I'll be there 10 minutes early to help them if they haven't done it before. In the email that gets sent out, how to get on the call is explained, possibly not very well. And I have a cell phone number available that they can call or text if they're having issues. Another thing I do, I script my whole call, so I remind myself to say things, and courtesy of Taffy, I know I'm not very good at introducing myself, am I, Taffy? So I even have that scripted. It says, Briar, say who you are. And then I explain how to mute and unmute as each person comes on, and I do the comfortable question, ask how the weather is or how much rain they've had in the last couple of weeks, so everybody gets used to using the chat function at the start of the call. I have very specific call rules, so all videos off and only unmute when you're speaking. That's about trying to get the call quality as clear as possible. I'm on very remote internet, and so internet is a real issue for me, and usually all the videos freeze on me and I can't hear things, so I'm quite conscious of that. Yeah, so I have the really specific call rules. We test the chat function. If somebody's dialed in as well, they can't use the chat function, so I make sure I check in with them every sort of 10 or 15 minutes and they haven't got anything to add. One thing I'm not sure about is the time of call. So there's kind of three things there. It's the best time for farmers, and who knows when that is. There's the clashes with all the other calls for, you know, personal, being still working for, you know, a full workload at the moment, plus internet quality. So all the evening calls I've been on, I struggle to even get any sound. So I can't personally run a call in the evening if I don't know if the internet's going to work. Even though I tell my partner and anybody in the house that they're not allowed to be on Facebook, watch Netflix, or even use the internet, full stop. What has worked well? I think the structure of the calls worked well for the number of people that we've had. It keeps people engaged because I don't let them go for more than 15 minutes without having input. So I think that keeps them awake, and we only go for an hour. What I want to improve is the number of people kind of on that call, and to make it a bit more approachable. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Briar. Love the preparation. Give us a wave or unmute and ask any questions if you have anything that you'd like to check in with Briar. No, I'm not seeing any waves. Please keep on using the chat box. Simon's asking any thoughts on moving from Zoom meetings from fun to getting engagement to then including the serious content. We've got some great tips from Leslie and John and Briar there that I've tried to capture a few of. Gary's saying there's no right time, so try different times. Dean, yes.
So I've had questions about what the best platform is. So far, my experience is Zoom seems to have the least amount of glitches, and I've been on Microsoft Teams, and I've been on Skype, and I've been on others, and I find them quite glitchy. So far, Zoom seems the least glitchy. I'm interested in other people's experiences in that space.
Yeah, Brian, did you want to make a comment on that? Yeah, because you guys have been really investigating that.
Yeah, so I actually agree with you, Dean. I think Zoom probably is the best platform. It seems to have the, how do you say it, smallest bandwidth, so it actually survives better on poor internet. Again, I don't use it just purely because of the organisation hasn't moved on to it yet. One of the other extension managers I work with, she's got a subscription to GoToMeeting, and she says it works really, really well. But using Microsoft Teams, it is almost impossible to create breakout rooms. You can do it, but you've got to create a meeting inside a meeting and send out double meeting requests and get people to, and it's just too hard. So I think Zoom, as far as usability, once you're in the meeting, is probably the best and has, yeah, really good quality.
John, yes.
So one of my groups, I first of all used Teams because we had a subscription at work. They told me they didn't like it because they could only see 4 of each other at the same time. So I was told to use Zoom.
That's a really good point, John, because I've had similar feedback that Zoom allows you to see everyone. And if you can use videos, it's actually quite nice to see people, whereas Teams, you can't do that. So great tip. Thank you. Thank you, Briar. Awesome to get your tips. And there's a few in the chat box. People have appreciated all of those tips and tricks. So great work. Megan, can I flick now to you?
So that's a tough act to follow. I am not that prepared, as much prepared as Briar is. I'm much more of a wing it person, but I guess I've done pretty similar things to what everyone else is doing. I had a casual call with my group 2 weeks ago, pretty much the first week of lockdown, and just said, hey, look, let's just have a Zoom meeting, have a catch up, and have an adult conversation, as they would say. I think everyone was pretty sick of their kids and just talking about kid stuff. So we made that meeting about what we're going to do. for lockdown and how to go from here. See if any of the topics had changed, like if our extension plan would change due to this situation. And they decided that they actually wanted to broaden their topics and get a few more guest speakers in and do a bit more soft skills learning. So they wanted to get, so we got Jonah in to do all the different online platforms, because they're also a part of all the different groups and committees and stuff. So they're keen to learn about all the different platforms and how to use them and where to use them. So we did that last week. They're keen to also touch up on their facilitation skills, which I thought was quite interesting. They're wanting some tips and tricks, I guess. They're also running meetings and being chairmans and whatnot. So we're going to be getting into that. I've got my first, well, not my first, but a guest speaker happening tonight with KPMG. So I probably would have known more after tonight, but I think I've planned for a trial Zoom with the guest speaker after this, because he doesn't have actually much experience with Zoom, so he's wanting to practice that. So we're going to do like a practice one and make sure that he knows all the different, how to mute, unmute, start the video, stop the video, use the chat box, pretty much teach him all the tools that I've learnt, so that he knows what's going on and when to use what and stuff like that. So I've kind of, I've been doing evening meetings. I've worked that they've worked well. Most of my group have young kids, so we aim for 7:30, 8 o'clock, so that they can all have dinner and then either get them to bed or their partners can get them to bed and then join afterwards, hopefully, if it all works well. Sometimes it doesn't work like that, but yeah, but I think what's worked well is that I've had quite a good relationship with the guest speaker, so they feel, and with the group, so we all feel comfortable. You know, if someone makes a mistake or if I make a mistake, it's okay. Everyone's patient and everyone knows that it's all new and everything like that. Evening times, definitely think that works well, and we have a bit of a chat, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the start of each call, just to make sure that everyone's, well, to wait for everyone to come on, but also just to make sure that everyone can hear everyone and make sure that the videos are working. What to improve? I think I need to do a few more Zoom meetings on my phone or tablet, because trying to teach someone or tell someone how to use a tablet or phone when you've never actually done it before is quite hard, especially when they're not familiar with it. So I'm going to make a point to come on to Zoom calls on my phone just to make sure that I know what I'm doing. Also, I'm wanting to learn more about how you do several speakers or run meetings with several speakers and stuff like that. So I think that's me.
Cool, thanks, Megan. I love that idea, and I've tried to do that too, is join a few Zoom calls from different devices just to practice and see what it's like as a participant, because it's really hard, like you say, Megan. Anyone want to give me a wave or unmute if you've got something to ask Megan? And if you haven't got your videos on, please feel free to just unmute and ask anything, or keep using the chat box. Cool. Well, we've got one more person to hear from, and then I'm going to send you into breakout rooms to have a chat about what stood out for you and what's one thing that you're going to need to take away and do. So yeah, Rachel is also agreeing about the using the laptop and using the phone and tablet. So good work. So Gary, thank you so much, Megan. Can I hand over to you?
Yeah, morning everyone. Hey, just quick background of my groups. I got two groups. They were set up by one connector, the Rubber Bank team from Wanganui. So they sort of, a lot of people knew each other, but we were running as two separate groups. We were just focusing before Christmas about a merge with timing and everything. So sort of this is actually, I think, facilitating that merge and then for them to stand on their own 2 feet. We started off, one group was supposed to have a meeting, I forget which day, but it was after lockdown. So of course we pulled the pin on that, and the other group was supposed to have a catch up as well. So I just said, right, let's have a phone conference. Got a really good turnout in fact, I'd set the date for the phone conference, rang a number of my group members. I spent basically a whole day on my back lawn talking to my group members, weeding the garden while talking to them. And I was just amazed by the interaction that I got from them, which was really cool. I think they wanted the social chat because they weren't allowed to go to the pub. Had a phone conference, was thinking, I wonder if we should do Zoom. So we did a phone conference, and most of them told me, why are we doing this on Zoom? I was like, oh, okay. So yesterday we had our second one via Zoom. Really good. Turnout about 3/4, I think, if I remember rightly, which is not as many as I've been getting to on-farm ones. I think there's a couple that they're just too scared of technology, so I need to chase them up. I talked to them. They wanted 12:30. They thought a good chance to sit down, have their lunch, those sort of things. All the stock shifts are done and everything. They didn't want evenings. That was their group, but the majority are older. So kids are probably either left home or teenage. There's a couple with younger kids, but I spoke to one of them. They said, it's all right. This mother-in-law from the house next door will look after the kids, so that'll be fine. I haven't had experts yet on those two calls. Big focus in our backyard at the moment's been around drought. So we've spent most of the time just sharing war stories and just everyone talking about how the hell are we going to sell our weaners, how we're feeling about feed, those sort of things. So I've used it as sort of really good social connection for them so far. The next one, we're going to get an expert in and talk about international markets and sort of what the look is for red meat for the next sort of 12 months to give them a bit of confidence. Just going through my notes. Yep. Two things, and I've also had quite a number of Zoom meetings with clients. One with 3 different owners and other people. So they've worked really, really well. What's worked well is the sharing of documents. Whether it's the agenda or a Word document, those sort of things. I've also had a meeting with a bank and a client, and we did share Cash Manager. And then someone said to me afterwards, I realised the platform's not very safe. And I went, oh, okay. But then looking at it, I mean, what's someone going to gain from someone's Cash Manager budget? So maybe we need to think about that going forward. But that was very fruitful for the client and gave the bank a huge amount of confidence. So that was really, really good. So sharing documents is really good engagement. Improvement, I haven't got the chat thing. I haven't talked about it with my groups. Clients is a bit different because one-on-one. I tried to use the whiteboard yesterday. Maybe I didn't explain it. Delwyn might give some feedback here because Delwyn was on as well. I used the whiteboard but probably forgot to tell them that they could use the whiteboard. So that's probably something going forward as I want to get more chat going and more things like that with the farmer groups, but been really happy so far. And as I say, I've been blown away by the social discussion and interaction and the sharing of war stories and how everyone's loving that. So that must be 5 minutes.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Gary. Delwyn, go for it. And take yourself off mute first.
I did sit in on Gary's meeting yesterday, and it was really good. The interaction between the group was terrific. And just going back to the whiteboard, Gary did use the whiteboard, and I myself am going to do the same with my groups because I felt that the whiteboard was a little bit simpler than Jamboard. And you could actually see it happening during the meeting. Like you could see that Gary was typing in, and as he said, if he'd said to the others that they could use it as well, it was really good. But it worked really well when they were talking about prices and stuff like that, and Gary could type it in. So I actually thought that worked quite well, Gary. And I know Gary and I had a little bit of a session on it beforehand, and I think with a bit of practice, that could be really, really good.
Yeah. No, and so you can get the whiteboard. So you can, if I share my screen, there's a whiteboard option, which is the next option next to sharing screen. So you should be able to see my whiteboard now, and I can draw.
We use the text, not the drawer.
Yep, and so that's drawing, or otherwise I can do that, and you can allow people to annotate. So if you go up to the top of your screen and you click the 3 dots, I think it is, there should be an option to annotate, and if you do that, then you too can you too can draw on it. So I think Dusty's writing some stuff in the chat box on that. Happy to, it's a cool thing.
Gary and I discovered very quickly that the drawing was a little bit hard, so we went with the text.
Yep, no, that's a good call. I agree. It's quite hard. There's all kinds of things you can do. Everyone's a few people having a play. Cool. I need to stop sharing so I can see you all. Any waves there? Any questions people want to ask? Or Gary?
Sorry, just one thing to add, Denise. What I found is that with clients or these, an hour and a half or 2 hours is really intense. You know, 4 or 5 hours over a dining room table when you probably break for a coffee and, you know, those sort of things, I can do that without a problem. But an hour and a half on this and taking notes is fairly intense. So I think sort of some of Briar's comments about organisation and structure is probably quite important, and in note taking. I didn't record yesterday's. Hindsight, maybe I should have. But I've written heaps of notes, but it's that's just something. It is quite intense, and maybe, I don't know, getting someone else to do the notes or doing that might be a little bit easier.
Yeah, cool. I think Megan, you and Simon have done that a bit. So you've taken notes, or Simon's run the meeting and that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Co-hosting facilitation is good. Really helps with the note taking.
Definitely. Now Nicola's asked, go Dean, go.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I think I jumped in front of Melissa. I've sort of noticed with the war stories is I sort of get the feeling after a while the meetings can get a wee bit negative. But I do it, and I like doing it, and it's good. But what I've tried to do with some meetings is actually encourage people to sort of strategically think sort of out into the future. I've got one of the challenges going on with meetings where I've got a 4-year-old joining me. Thank you. I try and get people to look out to the future and say, what role can agriculture play in, you know, lifting the economy and helping with employment and things like that. And it really seems to lift people so that you finish on a high.
Nice.
So that's been something that's been really useful, because I was finding some meetings were getting towards the end, and it was great sharing tough stories, but it was quite hard on the sort of emotions a little bit as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Good thought to kind of help people get a good perspective. Yeah. Melissa?
Just around the note taking, I actually make one of my group members take notes for me at every one of our meetings. I ask for a volunteer. It's generally one of the women, but we share it around the group, so they have to take ownership of it.
That's an awesome idea, Melissa, and it involves the group and group members and gets them engaged. So yeah, good thoughts. Now, Nicola, you were asking about recording meetings, and Briar says, hey, just tell them you're going to do it, and if they've got a problem. Mostly people are recording just so that they can do their own notes and stuff. But yeah, it's a good point, just that you do need to check. Now, I'm going to flick you into breakout rooms so you can talk very quickly about one thing that you've taken out of what you've heard. Maybe it's something that you're going to try. Maybe it's something that you're going to tweak. Maybe you need to stop doing something. Whatever that one thing is, I want you to spend a couple of minutes talking in your breakout room before we close off this meeting. So go. Ellie, feel free to go into the breakout room. You can just listen in or type in the chat box in the breakout room, if that's helpful. Hi, Megan. Hi, John. Sorry, you were supposed to have Ellie as well, but she was muted and I couldn't get her to join you guys. So I think she had some problems. So you weren't supposed to have a third there.
That's okay. I might actually have to leave though, Denise. I've got a meeting. Catch up with Jack for my meeting tonight, so I better go. But thank you.
Cool.
See ya.
See ya.
See, one thing that's really annoying is every time we go into a breakout room and come back, I've got to reset my screen.
Yes, and the same as for me, and I'm not quite sure what's in the settings that makes you do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I like to have the participants down the side and the gallery view, but yeah, it's a bit annoying to have to reset it every time.
Yes.
See if anybody knows how to, if there's something you can do.
Yeah. Does anyone know when you go into a breakout room and then you come back from the breakout room into the main session, often Zoom seems to reset your settings. Yeah, and so you've got to redo it. Anyone have any clues on that? Because I haven't figured that out myself.
I haven't got any clues, but it does seem to make the screen smaller when you come back into the main group. But oh well.
You just have to make it bigger again, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, oh well, I'll keep investigating that, and if we find a solution, John, we'll let you know. Thanks so much, Briar. Awesome, really cool to share. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think everyone learnt lots from Briar. Hey, we're going to close off the meeting there. I wanted to say thank you to all of you for engaging in this, and yeah, and thank you so much, Briar, Leslie, Megan, and Gary, because I asked you beforehand, but also thank you so much to Dean and John for sharing your thoughts. It's been awesome, and everyone else who's chipped in with different bits and pieces. So much appreciated. Yep, clap from Lab, thumbs up from Sarah and Dean. Awesome. Anyone who can't find that, that's in your reactions on your toolbar. So yeah, there's different little bits and pieces you can do. Next week, I'm hoping that Heather Collins, the training, facilitating online training that she mentioned a couple of weeks ago, is going to be running. And so I'm probably, once I get those dates and times, I'm going to send those out. So instead of having a Zoom call, I'll just be encouraging you to take advantage of that training. It's 90 minutes. so an hour and a half. So we'll do that. And then the week after, I've been talking to Lab about running some stuff with you guys. So we'll have, I'm going to send out a couple of things for the next couple of weeks that we'll be doing. There's also an APEN webinar on Monday afternoon that I'm going to send you the link to about working remotely. Cynthia Mahoney from Australia is running a webinar at 4 o'clock our time, I think. So I'll send you those details. So there's just a few things next week that I think might be useful if you're keen to join in. So I'll flick you those links. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining the facilitator Zoom call. And yeah, we'll spot you next week or the week after. So much appreciated, everyone.
Oh.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thanks, Denise. Bye.
Oh, bye-bye. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Denise,